If you guys were on my old channel, you've already heard me talk a lot about this neighborhood, and this is a neighborhood where I used to work. And it's the neighborhood that statistically from year to year is typically the most violent area of the city. But in recent weeks, it's flared up to even more higher level than usual, at least by my observation, man. So East and West Garfield Park, the 11th Police District, the Harrison District. We're going to go through some of the stuff that's been going on over there and advise everybody over there to stay away from large groups that are hanging out, especially at night, man. So anyways, on Saturday at about 5:15 a.m., again, a very bad time to be outside over there, a 30-year-old man was found unresponsive with a gunshot wound to the neck in the 4000 block of West Monroe. And that's a neighborhood that is not too far from the neighborhood that I was talking about in a video, again, on my old channel about that Fro gang and Monroe Millionaires block over by Costner and Monroe. So Monroe, all the way really from like 3800 to pretty much about like 4800 west, that whole stretch over there, like 10-block stretch, is all very hot. But there's a few gangs over there that typically like that their neighborhood stays hot. Now I'm not saying this was gang related. I don't know, but I'm just saying that particular spot right there. It's a big drug area over there. So 4000 West Monroe, he was out there at 5:15 a.m., 30 years old, and he was found with a gunshot wound to the neck, and he was pronounced dead. Also on the southwest side, a 41-year-old man was fatally shot while standing in the 2600 block of South Trip at about 1:50 p.m. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Now, so that's like southwest side, not exactly East Garfield Park neighborhood, but a 43-year-old man was killed early Sunday while standing on a sidewalk again in East Garfield Park. He was in the 2800 block of West Wilcox, so that's Wilcox in California, when a man fired gunshots at about 12:20 a.m., again at night. He suffered gunshot wounds to the chest and was taken to the hospital where he died. So that common denominator, man, standing outside at night or in the early morning hours in the East or West Garfield Park neighborhood, not a good idea. So there was a 16-year-old boy shot in East Garfield Park last Sunday at about 8:35 p.m. He was standing in the 3900 block of West Van Buren, again a very hot area. That's one block east of Pulaski off of Van Buren. And all the streets, they're named after presidents. If you take them east straight to downtown, they'll take you to downtown. If you take those streets straight out west of the Garfield Park neighborhood, those streets between, I would say it gets hot like around really anything like west of Damon these days, although that area is starting to be gentrified. But by the time you get to Western and then west of that all the way out to Austin, and then in the street, any street that's named after President, Van Buren, Randolph, it's going to be very hot around there, man. So that team was shot over by 3900 West Van Buren, which is just one block east of Pulaski. Again, a very hot area, a very high drug area. All those exits off of 290, those are like big time violent like drug spots. And that area of the city too is where 61%, I believe, I think it's the heroin, I could have that stat wrong, it's either heroin or cocaine, is sold in that alone, even though it's like the smallest like side of the city as far as like geographic area is concerned. 24 hours ago, we had a guy named Terrence. He was 31. He was shot to death in the 4000 block of West Monroe, again in the West Garfield Park neighborhood, that same block that I was telling you guys about. And this is the guy who was killed over by Wilcox in California. His name was Maurice. He was 27, and this was on August 7th. Then about 4 days ago, there was a guy, he was 23. He was shot in the 3000 block of West Lexington in the East Garfield Park neighborhood. And again, no suspect and no arrest in that case. If you have any tips, you can submit those to cbdtip.com. About 4 days ago on that same block, 4000 West Monroe, there was another guy killed, Omar. He was 30 years old. He was shot to death in the early morning hours at that very same spot, 4000 West Monroe, West Garfield Park neighborhood. That's the Garfield Park neighborhood. It's divided into east and west. And they're both hot. I mean, they're both super hot. And about a week ago, there was a guy named Paris. He was 29. He was shot to death in the 3900 block of West Gladys, again, West Garfield Park neighborhood, west side. Again, no arrest in that case. And this is an area of the city where if you snitch, it's like a death sentence. You don't want anybody to find out that you snitched over there, man. And then on August 3rd, there was a really tragic incident in the Garfield Park neighborhood, and this wasn't a shooting, but it was a 13-year-old girl who was struck by lightning while she and her family were walking in the parking lot of the Garfield Park Conservatory over there. And that's a very popular spot, like for people just going to relax for the day and stuff. But I don't know how lightning hit her, because a 13-year-old girl, I can't imagine that she was the tallest object in the vicinity, but or even the tallest person, but for some reason she was struck by lightning. And as far as her condition, I haven't had any update on that. I'm not sure. She was in critical condition. Life-saving measures were being performed on her at the hospital, but as far as what happened to her since then, I'm not sure. And close to Garfield Park, and this is all like the same general area, very closely connected. There was a guy who was 25. This was on August 2nd. He was shot to death in the 1100 block of South Troy in the North Lawndale neighborhood. And again, if anybody has any tips, you can submit those to cpdtip.com. But again, no suspects and no arrests as far as I've heard. There was a guy about 6 days ago who was killed by cars, actually, while he was crossing the street in West Garfield Park. Then about 2 weeks ago, there were 2 women shot multiple times in Garfield Park. One was seriously wounded 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night in the East Garfield Park neighborhood. The women, whose ages were 20 and 18, were outside around 9:55 p.m. when gunfire broke out in the 3400 block of West Madison. So that's like Madison between Kedzie and Central Park. And the 20-year-old was shot twice in the torso and twice in the arm. She was taken to the hospital where she was in serious. And an 18-year-old was shot twice in the leg and once in the foot. And she was in good condition. But 3 weeks ago, there was a 25-year-old man fatally shot in East Garfield Park on a Wednesday afternoon. This was in the 3300 block of West Harrison. And all these locations that I'm naming for you guys are hearing, these are all very close to each other. It's one of the reasons why they say the West Side, is a little bit trickier, because everybody's so close. It's like such a compact area. About 12:03 p.m., a 25-year-old man was near a sidewalk when he was approached by at least 2 offenders. They produced handguns and fired shots. The victim was struck multiple times in the body and transported to the hospital, where he died from his injuries. No offenders are in custody. Then again, about 3 weeks ago, there were 2 men shot in a, I believe it was a drive-by, after a suspect fired shots from a red SUV in the East Garfield Park neighborhood on a Sunday morning. The shooting occurred in the 800 block of South Albany. 2 men were in a vehicle when a red SUV approached and an unknown offender began firing shots into the vehicle. The victims then returned fire, and the red SUV fled the scene. A 28-year-old man was shot in the head and transported to the hospital in critical. He was pronounced dead a short time later. And a 25-year-old man was shot in the right upper back. He was also transported to the hospital in critical condition, where he was pronounced dead. 2 handguns were recovered from the scene. Nobody's in custody. And again, about 3 weeks ago, a drive-by shooting in the 4400 block of West Maypole on a Thursday afternoon left 4 people wounded. It was a quadruple shooting, including a 15-year-old girl. So this was really tragic, man. The incident happened around 4 p.m. in the 4400 block of West Maypole in the Garfield Park neighborhood on the city's west side. According to police, all the below-listed victims were hanging out outside of a residence on the above block when a white SUV drove down the street and an unknown person inside fired shots. It was initially believed that there were to be 2 victims shot, but an additional 2 victims self-transported to local hospitals. All of the victims are listed in good condition, though. The first victim was a 31-year-old male with a gunshot wound to the leg. Second was a 25-year-old male with a gunshot wound to the left elbow. Third was a 15-year-old female with a gunshot wound to the right leg. And the fourth was a 23-year-old female with a gunshot wound to the lower back. And there's no offender in custody. Area 4 detectives, again, are investigating. And those Area 4 detectives, man, they've got their hands full in that district. Again, about 3 weeks ago, there was a woman killed and a man wounded by gunfire during a fight on a porch in the East Garfield Park neighborhood. Again, that was about 3 weeks ago. And there's been 4 mass shootings in that area in the last few weeks, at least that I know of. And this was about 1.5 weeks ago. So Chicago police are searching for the person who shot multiple times into a backyard, killing 1 man and leaving a scene riddled with bullet holes. The shooting happened just after 1 a.m. Thursday on Wilcox, again in West Garfield Park. His family said he had just gotten home from work when he went back outside to get something from his car. That's when they said somebody fired shots into his backyard. He was a college graduate with dreams of making it on television someday. His family said on top of his full-time job, he was also a popular YouTube personality. And while they don't know why he was murdered, his family hopes that somebody in the community that they've known for years may know something that could help bring them justice and closure. Then again, about 2 weeks ago, there was a 16-year-old girl and a woman shot in West Garfield Park. 2 weeks ago, over the weekend, there were 10 particular victims that were wounded in 3 shootings near Garfield Park. Around 1:45 a.m. Saturday, 4 people were standing in the 2700 block of West Jackson Again, like I said, any street that's named after a president, like in that neighborhood, is bad. Somebody got out of a black truck and opened fire with a rifle. All four were hospitalized in good condition, though. Then around 3:15 a.m., two women were shot and wounded on West Division Street on the near north side, but that's like northwest side. And a suspect was arrested a short time later, and a gun was recovered, though, in that particular incident. Then around 3:15 p.m., a group of people was changing a tire in the 3300 block of West Harrison in Garfield Park, and that's over by Harrison and Kedzie, which is right by the police station. And a dark SUV pulled up, and somebody inside began shooting, leaving 3 people wounded. One of the victims, who was 30, died after taking a bullet to the head, and the other 2 victims were in critical condition. About 6 p.m. the same day, another drive-by shooting, this time in the 4000 block of West Arlington Street. Then also that weekend, at 6 p.m., a 24-year-old was sitting in a parked car in the 4400 block of Roosevelt Road in the North Lawndale neighborhood when he was shot in the head and leg. He was later pronounced dead at the hospital. So I could keep on going, guys, going back before that. So you see how many shootings just in the past few weeks in that neighborhood, and several on that same block, 4000 West Monroe. Garfield Park has a lot of things going on in it, man. Like I said, there's the drugs. A lot of this stuff, too, it's over bull crap. And any particular incident that I just named, I'm not referring to that. I'm just talking in general in that neighborhood. There's a lot of gangs in that neighborhood that, get very busy. I mean, you got the Vice Lords, the TVLs, CVLs, UVLs. You got the Undertaker Vice Lords. They call themselves the Takers. And then you got the Souls. You got GDs over there. It's just so many gangs in such a small area. You got Foes, of course, like Four Corner Hustlers. And these are like the most violent gangs in the city, man. A lot of Four Corner Hustlers into it with other Four Corner Hustlers. The Vice Lords into it with other Vice Lords. It's just, it's all messed up over there now, man. And you also have areas like over by Costner and Monroe, the area that I was talking about, where you got Vice Lords. I'm sorry, not Vice Lords, Four Corner Hustlers and GDs that are like get along with each other, which is something that, you never used to see back in the day, but nowadays you have that going on. But yeah, Garfield Park, man, that's an area where there's some areas where it's just like beyond, I call it like not salvageable anymore. There's some areas where the only thing left to do is just move. And I've talked to a lot of people, like on social media posts about that neighborhood, people that currently live there. Because I used to work there. I worked there for years at Marshall High School, which is like the main high school in that neighborhood. And they agree. They all agree. Like, you won't find anybody that doesn't agree. Like, either they're planning to move or they're in the process of moving. Talk to the young guys, you might get a different answer. But like any of the women that have kids, they're all on that page. All the women over there, you talk to them, they want out. It's just that simple. Like, they're not staying. They're either saving up money to leave, or they already have it and they're just looking for a place. But yeah, it's never too soon, never too late. Because the area, it's too close. It's just too close to like everybody that's into it with everybody else. Everybody's bunched together, and once one person gets killed, it sets off that chain reaction of back and forth. It just never stops. So anyways, guys, exercise caution over there. If you have to be there for any period of time, I definitely wouldn't be standing outside at night, in any groups of people, especially with people that have enemies, because it's just, you can see how risky it is. I mean, it's just nonstop over there, man. That Harrison district, the 11th police district, it's the hottest police district in the city by the numbers. I think a couple years ago, I think it was a few years ago. There was like 1 full percentage point of their population was shot in that one particular year. So it's just an extremely violent. Everybody over there knows somebody that's been killed, shot. Either they've been shot or somebody they know. It's like one of those areas where it's always like that. So yeah, hopefully everybody be cautious over there. It's your boy When You See Report. I'm out.